Stimwalt here, and we'll be looking at Despise. So don't forget to either have a torch or some night sight before you go into our deep dark dungeons. All right, so we have a split level, and we'll go down the stairs into the split level, and it will be level 3. And if we go up the stairs, it is Despise level 2. Sorry, that's an inside joke. A little self-effacing humor is good for your health. We've got some lizard men, and I'll do my teleport thing that I've done these past few videos. Seems to be pretty effective for me, at least. It adds the excitement, I think, of the dungeon. But yeah, this is very accurate to Despise. We do have some treasure chests that are fairly accurate, I would say, to UO. It's nothing is really going to be one-to-one in any of our dungeons. There's going to be creative license. We're going to have modifications. We will always have secrets in our dungeons. They may not all be immediately available on release, but you can pretty much guarantee that there will be secrets in our dungeons. So that means potentially new rooms. We may add additional boss rooms, things like that. So long story short, none of our dungeons will be exactly like UO. In fact, that's kind of boring, don't you think? And we will also have brand new dungeons that have never been introduced in any UO shard or the official game. That will be derived straight from our own creativity, but referenced to Ultima lore. So you may see dungeons that are inspired from, let's say, Ultima 7, the Black Gate, or Ultima 3, or 5, 6, etc., etc. So, we're not just going to build the classic dungeons. We will build the classic dungeons with modifications, so sort of classic plus maybe, and then brand new dungeons of our own design that are still Ultima. So as you can see, most of this area is a bunch of lizard men dudes. So that's a good place to, I would say, not low level, but sort of adept level grind melee characters. So if you're a tank, you could go up to level 2 and do pretty well, I think, against lizard men. So as you see, we do have a temporary Etten asset. That's a big one for me. I definitely want to make sure that we have an actual Etten, and so we will have that. We will create that Unity asset, and it will be a 2-headed Etten that is very tall. But for now, we have this CS platform asset. I think they're called the Titan. The Titans. I'm not 100% on that though. But anyway, that's a placeholder. It will be replaced with an actual custom asset. And so we're just sort of running around showing you what we have available on level 3. I'm just trying not to get killed by the Ettins. It's not going very well though. I apparently am lost in this room. I'll heal up real quick. All right. So you see we have some earth elementals, we have some Ettins on this level, and now we're going to delve a little deeper. And now we're down in Despise level 4. Now if you watch the Twitch, you remember how we all came here and it was like pitch black dark when I didn't have night sight on, or one of our team members didn't have night sight on. It was pitch black. That is by design. Generally speaking, if you go below level 3, so if you're on level 4 or below, it will be pitch black. So you have to have a light source. It's just unplayable if you don't have a light source. And you can pretty much consider that the new standard. So when we add new dungeons that have level 5, level 6, level 7, you may have to have a more powerful torch just to see. We have some Cyclopean warriors there. We have Ogre Lords, and this is where the champ will spawn. Well, maybe not at release, but yes, that is the location of the champ spawn. And if you guys aren't familiar with that particular champ in Despise, I will not inform you of it. Try to keep as much under wraps as possible. And so we also have Titans. Now, Titans were pretty popular to farm in this area of level 4 Despise. I believe they did cast Mind Blast, and they dropped an awful lot of gold. So you've got the Cyclopean Warriors, and you've got Titans all surrounding this champ in level 4. And this is a massive, massive dungeon. I mean, it's probably our largest dungeon currently. May be wrong about that, but I mean, the only other dungeon that comes close in terms of size may be Shame. I mean, Destard is very large as well, but I think this is the biggest. I think Despise is the largest dungeon we have. So yeah, as you can see, there's not a ton of casters in this dungeon. There are casters, but this is more of a melee, you know, sword and board kind of dungeon. So if you're a tank, you know, and you're really trying to raise your skill level, you know, getting to like 80 or 90, etc., this is a good dungeon. You could also make a lot of money here, and since it's so large, there's a good chance you could come here all by yourself and just go to certain corners and avenues and maybe never see any PKs, because it's a large dungeon to traverse. You know, people could go to much smaller dungeons and you know, especially murderers or PKs, and find people a lot faster than going to Despise. You have to run a lot in Despise to find other players. So in that sense, it makes it a little safer for you know, people that are just farming PvE. Another great thing about our game is, unlike in Celador, our previous game, which is what I'm going to refer to it as, our previous game, this new game, or the game we're releasing June 20th, it's not a clear divide between PvP and PvE or PvM templates. You can have template builds that straddle both, that are both effective at player versus player combat as well as monsters or environment combat. And so that's something that was very important to us. It's something that our team had been working on with our combat overhaul, and we've had several iterations of combat overhauls, and we really feel that our combat and our template systems have intertwined and allowed people to have a character that can do both, that can fight players and can fight monsters and be effective. So that's important to mention, because, you know, in the past people just think, oh, well, in order to be effective at killing monsters or, you know, PvE content, I have to be a tamer or a bard. And that is not how our game is. Yes, you can be a tamer. Yes, you can be a bard, but you can also be a tank. And in some cases, or actually in most cases, the hardest bosses require a tank. You just will not be effective with just a tamer. And so anyway, I guess what I'm trying to get at is we have really changed the dynamics of bosses to group content. We've changed the templates to sort of, I don't know, marry in some sense, where you can be a PvE or PvE. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Talk to you later.